Hello everyone, back to the channel. Now, as you probably know, I'm a lover of vinyl LP records, and for the last year I've displayed my favourites here in the background of these videos. Now, vinyl isn't for everyone, I know, and there's a rather funny cartoon on the internet that makes fun of vinyl setups, with the quote being, "The two things that drew me to vinyl were the expense and the inconvenience." Well, the same could be said about shooting film, which I talked about in a recent video, and I do that too. But it's that famous John Peel quote that can be used in the counter argument for vinyl, and it's that surface noise in life that I'm also accepting in my photography, in two ways, which I will reveal in this video. But before that, if you want to see not just the top half of me, but what's below the desk too, then you need to subscribe to E6. My E6 subscription is where my on-location videos now reside. If you would like to see me shooting all my latest projects out in the field or in the city, then my E6 subscription is where all that is happening. And that's not all. My latest e-guide series is out this year, so if you purchased and enjoyed any of my ebooks, then there's more of this type of written content included too. Plus podcasts, image reviews, and those ebooks are included in the package too. Head over to my website and check out all the content, which of course saves me having to do any lame sponsored ads in these YouTube videos. I really don't want to do those. I'd rather offer you more content of E6 instead. So, back in the day when I shot film first time round, when that's all there was, I was shooting with the slowest films available, which were Kodachrome 64 and Fuji Velvia 50. Fine-grained film which offered the best quality and sharpest results. This is what the magazines and publishing industry asked for, insisted on even. If you wanted to sell your work, these were the required films to use. With digital, as things have been improved, so noise has virtually been eliminated from our results. We don't even have to shoot at that low ISO 50 to achieve this, with most cameras having the default of 100 ISO or 125 as on my Fuji X-T5. Clean images can be captured where those base settings can be used, such as in bright light or with the camera on a tripod, or even handheld these days. Look closely at a digital file captured on a full frame camera at 100 ISO and it will be super clean, not a hint of noise in sight. And if there is, or if you accidentally shoot at 400 ISO instead, God forbid, then there is software out there that will denoise all that nasty, unpleasant noise that can spoil an image. They are so clean, you can probably give those files a rub with your finger and they would actually squeak. Now, I've always looked after my records. I handle them with care, keep them clean and store them correctly, so they too are mostly noise-free. Most of my collection dates back to the late 80s, as through the 90s and noughties I succumbed to the digital revolution and bought noise-free CDs instead, as most albums weren't even released on vinyl during this time. However, a turntable upgrade last year saw a return to the medium for me, in a time where vinyl is making a comeback, and new album releases are getting a vinyl release too. And whilst new records should be mostly noise-free, surface noise can still exist. But I'm okay with that. I can accept that. And I can accept that in my photography too. Even more so, maybe. I'm not afraid of high ISO settings. I'm not worried by noise. I don't own a copy of any denoising software. I think digital is getting too clinical, as I mentioned recently, and the character, the essence of an image is being lost. It's like 8K TV, which is the next future technology. Nothing needs to be that clear and sharp. These days, I'm not taking the same type of images I did in the 90s. I'm not taking the pretty views. I'm not out chasing colourful sunsets. I'm not trying to capture the typical honeypot view in perfect light. And I'm not necessarily after a squeaky clean, low noise result either. I've been there and done that, and perhaps wasn't that keen on it back then either. Maybe I just don't see the world like that. not even the so-called pretty views, and instead I see the noise. I like gritty, not pretty, and even the pretty views can be interpreted in other ways. I often shoot on overcast days instead of sunny days. I shoot in the middle of the day instead of during golden hour. I shoot handheld instead of with the camera bolted to a tripod. Shoot on apertures other than f11 or f16 and at ISO settings other than base 100. Where you see pretty, I may see gritty. The end result, whichever way you capture that, can be spectacular. I know what the layman would prefer, the average viewer, the version social media would prefer to see, the one that would get the most likes. But that's not what my photography is all about. I see the beauty in the ugly, but I also see the beauty in the beauty. Or maybe I see the ugly in the beauty, the noise. And that's what I'm trying to capture myself, to reveal the beauty that way instead. I'm recording the surface noise underneath, and now I'm starting to capture it with surface noise, with the noise added, without worrying about the impact, or accepting the impact of noise and maybe appreciating it and using it for my creativity. So this different way of seeing things, recording things, has been my approach for many years now. I've changed the way I see the world. I'm more accepting of things to photograph. I'm embracing what previously I would have rejected. I'm photographing more things that others may pass by on their way to a popular view, and enjoying photographing that difference too. My photography feels freer and more creative because of this. I've embraced smaller formats during this time and the so-called noise that they include too. I worry less about front to back sharpness in my images or having the perfect lens. Not all of my images are shake free, and some even have blur added to them. I'm pushing my ISOs higher each time. I prefer shooting at night handheld too, and will employ the camera's settings to help me achieve that. I'm trying to be more creative with each new image I take, and I'm trying to keep my photography fresh by embracing film again and not letting digital rule my life, just as I am with my music, analog and digital. This year I'm questioning exposure and what is right or wrong. Do my images have to be perfectly exposed, or can they be seen in a different way? This year I'm switching my histogram off and just going what feels right. This sometimes can produce added noise, but what's wrong with that? All these things are often seen as wrong because that's what we've been told. But by who? Well, I'm here to tell you noise is okay. Don't worry about it. A little bit of noise hurts no one. So there's maybe two types of photographer. There's the one who has chosen to shoot full frame or even medium format these days. They take every image with the camera firmly attached to a tripod, and they chase the perfect light, capturing images using the best settings, including the lowest ISO settings. They may even focus stack too for optimum sharpness, and the results show the world in all its glory. Nothing wrong with that, of course, but then there's the other type. They may still shoot full frame, but maybe they're more accepting to other formats too, APS-C or even Micro Four Thirds. They shoot at all times of the day in all light, maybe even in low light, handheld. They accept the world for what it is, the good and the bad, the pretty and the ugly. They may see this as being more creative. They're not capturing a record of the world, but instead a creative interpretation based on their own outlook, style and approach. They use their cameras more as a creative tool and like experimenting to push the boundaries wherever they can. They too show the world in all its glory, but maybe not as others have come to accept. So, which one are you? I'll see you next time.